My name is Brian, and I have a wood shop in my two-car garage, and it's hot. But today we're going to change that. We're going to add this DIY kit, this 9000 BTU mini split from Tosot Direct. And if you're interested, I have a coupon code down below that can save you $100 off your own system. For this install, I decided to go have an electrician come out and install a 230 volt disconnect on the outside of my house. But if you're interested in doing the electrical part yourself, I'll link down below a few videos that go into greater detail. All right, that's it. Let's get these boxes open and make sure everything's intact.
This DIY installation kit comes complete with the indoor and outdoor units, remote control, a signal cable power cord, drain hose, and pre-charged refrigeration copper lines. Those pre-charge lines is what really makes this a DIY install. They recommend having 2 people for this installation, and that does come in very handy in a few spots, but the majority of this can be done solo. Luckily for me, I had my cousin James come down to give me a hand. I recommend you all find a cousin James. I picked this location over my water heater as it was one of the few open wall spots I had in the shop. To allow for proper airflow around the unit, I installed the air handler a minimum of 6 inches from the ceiling and 6 inches from the wall. It's recommended to install the unit 8 feet from the floor, but I only have 8-foot ceilings in the shop, so I had to make do. After the plate was mounted, I found my longest drill bit and I drilled a pilot hole from the inside where I wanted the lines to exit. With that located properly, I used that pilot hole to drill a larger hole with a 2.5-inch hole saw. I started this cut from the inside, going halfway through, and finished from the outside to leave me with a nice clean cut. I used a carbide tip hole saw outside to go through my cement board siding. This is by far the scariest part, cutting a hole in your house. After that was done, we began wiring up the indoor unit by following the instruction manual. The instructions walk you through these parts very nicely. I slowly rolled out the copper lines to straighten them before bringing them back inside to attach to the air handler. When you first pop this seal off, you're supposed to hear it release, so don't worry. When attaching these lines, I used some of this Nylog blue gasket sealant. Just a dab will do you, as the old man in me would say. It only goes on the mating surfaces of the flared ends, not the threads. It comes highly recommended from some of the other videos I watched, so I thought it was worth a shot. I'll link it below. I snugged everything up with even pressure and repeated the process for the other line. I wrapped the opening in the foam that was provided and began wrapping the lines in the provided cloth tape. This keeps everything together, and I believe it has some sort of UV protectant for when those lines are exposed to the sun. Tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. After attaching the drain line hose and finishing wrapping the lines, we carefully began exiting the lines from the inside, and then James ran outside and helped guide those lines out safely, while I was able to hang the air handler on the back plate. I set the condenser in place and began slowly routing the line set down the outside of the house without kinking the lines. Per the instructions, you don't need to cut the excess copper as the lines are pre-charged, so I just coiled them up behind the unit. James is way better at reading than me, so he took care of the electrical hookup outside, following the manual. He says it was all straightforward, so if you don't think so, contact him. Now is the fun part that saves you all the money. If you purchase a vacuum pump and gauges for this install, you can save thousands over the other brand. I'll link the ones I use below. I cracked open the gauges, and while I let this sit on a vacuum for about 30 minutes, it gave us time to get out of the brutal sun and grab some lunch. Work smarter than me and don't install this in the heat of summer. When attaching the vacuum pump to your gauges, you will need to grab this port adapter. Cost me around $8. I'll link it below. After lunch, I used some soapy water to test if I had any leaks, and there weren't any, so I cracked open the lines using an Allen wrench and reattached the valve caps. I popped in the disconnect and couldn't wait to get inside to flip the breaker.
Please don't blow up. Oh, I heard a click. I heard it too.
That's my real-time reaction when I heard the click of that power starting up. Victory. I really couldn't believe how quick we installed this. So fast, in fact, we had time to get the line chase covers on too. I got this kit off Amazon and it was a straightforward install. I used my miter saw to trim some pieces to length, making a makeshift stop to get the same size bottom and top piece. We attach everything to the siding and snap the covers on. That took some doing in the hot sun, but we got it done. Before adding the top cover, I used some expanding spray foam to fill any gaps around the lines. It's just an added precaution. I added a bead of caulk around the top to prevent any water from seeping in. And while I was out there, I added the rest of the cloth tape to secure all the lines together, and then I added a few zip ties as well, just to tidy everything up.
When I replaced the main air conditioner in my house about a year and a half ago, they needed to put a new concrete slab because this condenser was bigger. So instead of them just hauling off and taking the old slab, I had them save it in preparation of one day getting this mini split. I never thought about the slab even being level or how heavy it was. So when I installed this condenser the other day, as soon as I put it down, I realized it was very much at a level. But I have a solution that I think can fix this without picking up this very heavy slab. Let me show you. The first step in mounting this condenser to the slab is to measure and make sure I have equal distance. And then I grab this Milwaukee Inksaw marker and I mark each hole so I can pre-drill them. Seriously, this marker is the best. It writes on everything.
Living in South Florida, this is an absolute necessary step. In fact, since I've installed this unit this summer, I've already had 2 hurricanes come through my area. Thanks to Instagram, I got quite a few friends up in Canada, and I had one buddy, Brian, from August Dawn Timber Company, reach out, and he spells it with an I, but he's all right. And he was saying that he was just dumbfounded that Florida is completely surrounded by water, and it got me to thinking that he's not wrong, and Mother Nature's a beast, and it'll let you know at any moment that it's right around the corner.
When installing condensers outside, they recommend to use a vibration pad under the condenser feet. That's just a rubber pad that's going to absorb some of the vibration that comes with the compressor to avoid that chattering sound. It's really just a preference thing. It could get loud, it could not. But since my slab is uneven, I thought I would do multiple vibration pads to even out the wrong side. But they're kind of expensive. They're like $20 for a 4-pack. I would need at least 2 of those because I want to make sure they're evened out. And I can only get them online. I couldn't find them at the local big box store. So what I did is I went out, I bought the rug for like $15. This is just an all rubber rug. And I'm just going to cut it. And I'm going to cut the exact number of pieces I need. And then we'll go put them under the feet. Although the bandsaw isn't meant for this application, it made quick work of it. Man, it sure is nice to have my workshop at my job site. It ended up being perfectly level with 2 vibration pads on one side and 1 on the other. Let me know in the comments if you think this was a smart, economical way of correcting this issue, or if I overlooked something better. Once it was all leveled, I fastened it all down with some exterior blue tap-gun screws. And that's a wrap for this install. The manufacturer recommends you run the unit for about 24 hours to make sure there's no kinks or bugs in the system. I had no issues at all. I've had this unit installed now for a few months, and it's been an unbelievable upgrade to my space. It's made my workshop usable again in the dead heat of the summer. But it's not only great for cooling and heating, but humidity control. For me, keeping my cast iron rust-free is a big concern. And I gotta tell you, when I first started up this unit, for over an hour, the drain line, you would have thought someone turned the faucet on. I mean, it was just pouring out, just pulling all that humidity out of the space, doing its job. And now that it's evened out, it's just doing its normal drip, drip, drip because it's evened out this space. It's really amazing. As far as cost increase goes, there hasn't really been much. This is a 20 SEER high efficiency unit. So for as much as I'm running this unit, it hasn't been much of a difference. Part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is to show how attainable this project is. You think installing a mini split unit is just out of your reach, but I wanted to show you that it's not. And it only took us half a day to do it. I would highly recommend you give this a shot if you need to cool or climate control your business, your office, your workshop, whatever space you need to do it. I would highly recommend you giving this system a shot. Up next for me, I'm going to insulate that garage door to try to keep some of this cold air from escaping. I hope you guys come back for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.